Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with insightful discussions on the latest in technology and gadgets.
Sounds fun.
It is. Ever feel like the AI world is moving at warp speed?
Oh, absolutely. It's incredible to watch, honestly.
We're breaking down some...
But 1X seems to be taking a different approach.
Yeah, and they're already moving into in-home testing, which is a pretty big step. They've released some videos. And the robot's movements are surprisingly natural.
Oh, wow.
Imagine a robot that can actually fold laundry or load the dishwasher.
Well, that's the dream, right? I mean, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
But, the transition from testing to a commercially viable product is a long one. There are a lot of challenges to overcome, not just in terms of the technology itself, but also things like
Sure.
cost and safety.
True, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Okay, now let's talk about something that really blew my mind.
Okay.
OpenAI's predictions about achieving superintelligence and the insane amount of money they're planning to spend.
Their spending projections are eye-popping. They're estimating a total compute spend of $325 billion from 2025 to 2030.
$325 billion. It's hard to even grasp what that kind of investment means.
I know, it's crazy.
But what exactly is superintelligence?
Yeah.
And why is OpenAI so convinced they can achieve it?
Superintelligence, in simple terms, is AI that surpasses human capabilities in virtually every aspect.
Okay.
OpenAI believes they're on the right track, and that by 2027,
Wow.
or even sooner, we could see AI that can outperform humans in everything, from scientific research to creative endeavors.
That's both fascinating and a little bit terrifying, honestly.
Yeah, I could see that.
But it seems like not everyone is on board with this whole superintelligence hype train.
Right.
Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, even though Microsoft is a major investor in OpenAI, has expressed some skepticism, right?
Yes. Nadella believes that talk of achieving superintelligence by 2027 is exaggerated.
Okay.
He emphasizes focusing on the real-world impact of AI, like boosting global GDP growth.
So he is thinking more practically.
Yeah, he sees AI as a tool to solve real-world problems, not just a race to create the most intelligent machine.
That makes sense. So what's his vision for the future of AI? Is he just being cautious, or does he have a different approach in mind?
What's interesting is Nadella's focus on open-source AI development. He believes that's the key to preventing any single company from dominating the field.
So more of a collaborative approach.
Yeah. It's about fostering a more collaborative and inclusive approach to AI development where the benefits are shared more widely.
So instead of having a few tech giants controlling AI, we could see a much more diverse landscape with contributions from startups, researchers, and even individuals.
Exactly. Nadella argues that open-source AI will democratize access to this technology, leading to more innovation and a broader range of applications.
That's a really interesting contrast to OpenAI's approach, which seems very focused on achieving a specific goal, even if it means spending an astronomical amount of money.
Right.
Do you think these two visions for AI are compatible, or are we headed for a clash of philosophies?
Well, it's hard to say for sure. OpenAI and Microsoft clearly have different priorities, but they're also both heavily invested in the future of AI. It'll be interesting to see how this dynamic plays out.
Absolutely. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about something that's a bit less futuristic, but still pretty relevant to our daily lives.
Okay.
The never-ending struggle with notifications.
Yes, the constant barrage of pings and alerts. It can be overwhelming.
It really can. And it seems like Apple is trying to tackle this problem head-on with their new priority notifications feature in iOS 18.4.
Okay.
They're saying it's powered by Apple Intelligence.
Interesting.
And will help users manage that notification overload.
The idea is that Apple Intelligence will learn your habits and preferences, figuring out which notifications are truly important to you, and filtering out the rest.
So it's like having a personal assistant for your notifications.
In a way, yes. It's supposed to anticipate your needs and make sure you're only seeing the alerts that matter most.
That sounds promising, but I have to admit I'm a bit skeptical. I've seen these smart features before, and they often fall short of expectations.
I understand your skepticism. It's a complex challenge to create a system that can accurately interpret individual user behavior. There's always a risk that it could misinterpret your priorities or end up creating even more confusion.
Right, like what if it decides that my Twitter notifications are more important than a message from my boss? That could be a disaster.
Well, hopefully Apple has thought of that, but we'll have to wait and see how it performs in the real world. It's one thing to have a fancy algorithm, but it's another to actually change user behavior and help people feel more in control of their digital lives.
Fingers crossed. All right, let's jump back to the world of AI for a minute. We were talking about OpenAI's ambitious spending plans,
hmm
but along with all the excitement about superintelligence, there are also some serious concerns about the potential downsides.
Absolutely. There's a growing movement of people who are concerned about the ethical implications of AI, especially as it becomes more powerful.
Yeah, and we actually saw a real-world example of that recently with the protest outside OpenAI's offices.
Hmm.
People were demanding a ban on AGI, artificial general intelligence.
That protest highlights the fact that the debate over AI is no longer confined to academic circles or tech conferences. It's spilling out into the streets as people become more aware of the potential implications of this technology.
It's a reminder that we need to be having these conversations,
Yeah.
weighing the potential benefits of AI against the potential risks, and figuring out how to ensure that it's developed and deployed in a way that aligns with our values.
It's not just about technological progress,
Right.
it's about shaping the kind of future we want to live in.
Well said. And speaking of shaping the future, let's switch gears and talk about something that's happening right now in the world of AI, the rise of open source development.
Open source is all about making the underlying code freely available, allowing anyone to use it, modify it, and contribute to its development. It's a model that's been incredibly successful in other areas of technology, and now it's gaining momentum in the field of AI.
And we've got a prime example right here. DeepSeek, a Chinese AI lab, has announced that they're going to open source parts of their online services code.
Wow.
That's a pretty big deal, right?
It is. It's a sign that open source is gaining traction, even in regions where there's traditionally been a stronger emphasis on proprietary technology.
So why is open source such a big deal in the world of AI? What are the potential benefits?
Well, for one thing, it can level the playing field, making AI technology more accessible to startups, researchers, and individuals who might not have the resources to develop it from scratch. It fosters a more diverse and inclusive AI ecosystem.
So instead of just a handful of tech giants controlling the future of AI, we could see a much broader range of players contributing to its development.
Exactly. It could lead to more innovation as people from different backgrounds and disciplines bring their unique perspectives to the table.
That makes sense. And what about the ethical concerns surrounding AI? Could open source play a role in addressing those?
Absolutely. One of the key advantages of open source is transparency. If the code is open for everyone to see, it's harder to hide any biases or malicious intent. It allows for greater scrutiny, making it easier to identify and address any potential problems.
So it's not just about making AI more accessible, it's also about making it more accountable.
Exactly. Open source isn't a silver bullet, of course. There are still challenges to overcome, like ensuring the quality and security of open source code. But it's a movement that has the potential to democratize AI, making it a force for good in the world.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot to be excited about in the world of open source AI. But before we get too carried away, we should probably acknowledge that there are also some risks involved. I mean, if anyone can access and modify the code, could that potentially lead to some bad actors creating harmful AI systems?
That's a valid concern, and it's one of the reasons why it's so important to have open and honest conversations about the ethical implications of AI. We need to be thinking about safeguards and regulations that can help mitigate those risks without stifling innovation.
That's a great point. It's all about finding the right balance, isn't it? We want to encourage the development of beneficial AI, but we also need to be mindful of the potential downsides.
Exactly, and that's why it's so important to have a diversity of voices and perspectives involved in these conversations. We need input from ethicists, policymakers, researchers, and the general public to ensure that AI is developed and used responsibly.
Well said. And speaking of different perspectives, let's circle back to OpenAI for a moment. They're making some pretty bold predictions about achieving superintelligence AI that surpasses human capabilities in virtually every area as early as 2027.
It's a concept that captures the imagination, but it also raises some fundamental questions about the future of humanity. If machines become more intelligent than us, what does that mean for our role in the world?
That's a pretty heavy question,
Yeah.
and one that we might not have an answer to for quite some time. But I guess that's part of what makes this whole AI thing so fascinating, right? Is pushing us to think about some really big questions.
It certainly is. And whether we're talking about superintelligence or more practical applications of AI, it's clear that this technology is going to have a profound impact on our lives in the years to come.
Well, on that note, let's wrap up this episode. We've covered a lot of ground today, from robot butlers and notification overload to the potential for both utopian and dystopian futures powered by AI.
It's been a fascinating conversation, and I think it highlights the fact that we're living in a truly transformative time.
It's exciting, it's a bit scary, and it's definitely something that we all need to be paying attention to.
It is. Yeah, it really is something, huh? It's a lot to think about.
It is.
But hey, that's what we're here for, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
To break it all down
Yeah.
and make sense of it.
Right.
Speaking of making sense of things,
Yeah.
I think it's worth circling back to that crypto heist
Oh, yeah.
we mentioned earlier.
Uh-huh.
$1.5 billion stolen from the Bybit exchange.
Wow.
It's a stark reminder that security is still a major issue in the crypto world. Yeah, it's a bit unsettling, honestly. It makes you wonder if all this talk about a decentralized, secure future is a bit premature.
Well, every technology has its growing pains,
Right.
and the crypto world is still relatively young. But this heist does underscore the importance of robust security measures, especially as more and more people are putting their money into digital assets.
Yeah, true.
Makes you think twice about where you're storing your crypto, that's for sure.
For sure.
But on a lighter note,
Okay.
let's talk about something that could potentially make our lives a little bit easier. Those robot butlers we were discussing earlier.
Ah, yes. The promise of automated domestic bliss. It's a concept that's been around for decades,
Right.
but it seems like we're finally getting closer to making it a reality.
Well, at least that's what companies like 1X are hoping for. Their Neo Gamma robot is already in home testing,
Wow, really?
and the videos they've released look pretty impressive.
Yeah. It's certainly an intriguing development, but I think it's important to remember that there's a big difference between a robot that can perform a few basic tasks in a controlled environment
Yeah.
and one that can truly navigate the complexities of a real-world home.
Right. Like dealing with unexpected obstacles,
Right.
interacting with different family members,
Yeah.
handling delicate objects.
Right.
There's a lot that can go wrong.
A lot, exactly. And let's not forget the ethical considerations. If we're going to have robots working in our homes, we need to think about things like privacy, security, and even the potential impact on human relationships.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's almost like a science fiction movie come to life with all the potential benefits and risks that come with it.
Well, it is, yeah. Well, that's technology for you. It's always pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Right.
And it's up to us to figure out how to navigate those changes in a way that benefits humanity.
Well said. So we've covered a lot of ground today,
Uh-huh.
from mind-blowing AI spending sprees to the potential rise of open source AI, and of course, those futuristic and maybe slightly unsettling robot butlers.
It's been a whirlwind tour of the latest in tech, and I hope our listeners have found it both informative and thought-provoking.
Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the episode, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.